What is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's Jesse Spec YouTube video. For all of you guys who've been following the 2ZZ swap into my MR2, it's finally come to an end. However, I still couldn't enjoy the car yet on the road because it has to be tuned, and even before that I have to install my new clutch. So this week's video is going to be about clutches, and I will be comparing my old setup and the stock setup from a weight perspective, and also show you how to fully install it into your own MR2. So without further ado, join me and let's dive into it. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the warehouse. As you can see, the MR2 is on the hoist. For all of you who didn't follow all the series of the swap series, this is a 2ZZ engine, and I've just received my OS-Giken Racing clutch, and today I'm going to take the time to install it and show you all the steps along the way. So without further ado, join me and let's dive into it. Okay, so first steps, remove both screws holding the transmission in. So we have the main one that is all the way on the left here. Just taking out the holding screw is the first step. Then you have your second transmission mount that is really at the back of the car. Here, these 4 screws with this screw. You pull it out and you will see the engine will go down. So you have to be careful when you do that. That's why I put a strap here. I put back my tower bar on, and you can see I put a strap here, and it's actually holding the weight of the engine, and it let it go down a little bit in order to have more space to pull the transmission out. Because don't forget, we have a 6-speed, which is a bit longer, and that means that we need more space actually to pull the transmission out. So that's why it's important to tilt the whole transmission and engine ASSY down like this in order to have more space. So of course I removed like battery tray, etc. The pod filter, I took it off, and yeah, so let's continue taking everything out from the bottom. Okay, so I removed the last bolt of the transmission. I put my little cart underneath. Now let's lift everything out and see how that goes. And it's out. So this is the C60 transmission that you see here, ready to put in the new clutch. Let's take a look at it. C60 transmission, totally rebuilt with a OS-Giken LSD in it. Ready to go back into the car. And here we have the stock flywheel with the clutch removed. And now, ooh, look at that nice exhaust over there. So now we're going to remove the flywheel and put the new clutch in. It seems like I had left a little bit of oil behind one of the screws that holds the flywheel and the flywheel itself. So when I took it out, I saw some oil leaking out, but it's not coming from the seal, so that's a bit what's strange about it. But I suppose it's related really to some oil in one of these holes here. It's coming from this one. Oh well, a little bit of a question mark there, but anyway. Before continuing the install video, I would like to show you a few elements of my current clutch setup that is also by OS-Giken, and compare it with the stock clutch that I had before to see what are the differences. Let's take a look at it. I think it would be interesting to compare a few things, such as 2 different clutch types. As you know, OS-Giken has been supporting me since a long time. I've been running their single disc clutch kit and I've been really happy with it. It's really been awesome. But since now I have the chance to compare the stock clutch compared to the OS-Giken, so measuring not just the clutch in itself, but the flywheel and everything, and compare everything to see what is the real difference in between the components, I think this would be interesting. Taking into account that I'm actually going to be upping the game further. So by the way, my STR clutch will be up for sale for a symbolic price. So if anybody is interested, make sure to write me in the comments below. All the revenue from this clutch will be purely invested into this project. So make sure to if you know anybody who wants a decent OS-Giken clutch that has only 8,000 kilometers roughly, make sure to hit me up. Okay, so first step, let's take a look at the flywheels. Are they any different from a weight perspective? Let's take a look at this. So as you can see behind here, I have my Proform scales that are actually for weighing usually cars and their whole corner weight, for making corner weight balancing. So let's just use this. It's not the most precise scale for small things like this, but it will still give us an idea to see how they compare between stock and not stock. So here we have the stock flywheel and here we have the OS-Giken flywheel. Watch out, there's an extra part on it. You see the bracket here. So in theory, it should be a little bit lighter. So let's take a look at it. So if we compare both, as you can see, we have both the same weight. So stock flywheel 5.5 kilos and this one is also 5.5 kilos. They're varying because I'm pushing on the table, but roughly we have both of them are 5.5 kilos, taking into account that this one has the bracket on it. So the flywheel in theory is only this part, this is not included, so this should make a difference once we look into details. Here we have the stock disc and the stock pressure plate. Gives us 10 kilos. Okay, let's go into the OS-Giken one. So as you can see, this flywheel has exactly 8,000 kilometers on it. It's very decent, no wear to be seen. It has a few hot spots, but that's normal with a metallic clutch. So now let's put back all the parts in one by one. So we have the disc, as you can see here, 8,000 kilometers, still in perfect condition. Put this first. Then we have the upper pressure plate. There we go. This is the upper part that comes on top. This comes like this. And for you guys who are wondering, what is the chattering sound in a OS-Giken? It's this plate here moving inside. And finally, we have the beautiful STR red plate here, as you can see. And this, once we put it on here, comes like so. And we see we have exactly the same weight as the stock. 10 kilos on both sides. 10 and 10. So as we can see, there is actually no difference in weight between the stock and the STR clutch. But on the other hand, this one is much more sturdy and willing to put up with a lot more torque. So typically if you're going to turbocharge your 1ZZ, this is the clutch that you should go with. On another note, I was expecting that it would be a little bit lighter, but in the end I didn't see a big difference in response increase when I was revving the engine. I didn't see much of a difference. So as we can see, both of these clutches are 10 kilos heavy, including flywheel and all the screws and everything. So if your goal is to increase throttle response by when you accelerate that it jumps up the revs higher, this is maybe not the right clutch for you. But on the other hand, as you all know, why do stock cars have a certain weight to it? Is because inertia in the flywheel and in the clutch actually improves drivability. So this clutch was just fantastic to drive on the road. It had, of course, a pretty strong bite to it, so you had to be careful, but since it had enough inertia, it was really easy to drive even as a daily car every day. There is the chattering noise that I was talking about. That is something that one has to live with, but it's well worth it with all the benefits that come from a reinforced clutch. Now that you've seen my old setup, let's jump back into the install video where I show you my new OS-Giken setup for the 2ZZ engine. Okay, so when you replace a clutch, always important to put new flywheel bolts, as you see here. So here I got brand new ones, original Toyota ones. So how many do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That looks about right. If you look at the screw, this one already comes with Loctite on it already. So that's pretty cool. So this, we're good to go. Now let's take a look at this brand new OS-Giken clutch. With a full catalog and some stickers. Very nice, a user manual as well. Look at this, baby. Amazing. Look at this clutch. With a super light flywheel, with the holes everywhere that you can see here. That looks just amazing. Brand new OS-Giken racing clutch. As you can see, it's a very small diameter clutch, and it has a fully lightened flywheel that you can see here. So as you can see, I can carry this with one hand, very light. And as usual, you know, if it's rotational mass that you're saving weight on, it makes a lot of difference, okay? So, I'm gonna be taking this out here. What else do we have in here? Okay, that's it. And a release bearing. So here you see a release bearing included as well. So here, get a better look of the clutch. Thank you so much, OS-Giken Japan, for supporting me in this project build. I'm very thankful, and I'm looking forward to testing all this right away. Okay, so I have my corner balancing kit here. I have one scale here, and just by interest, let's compare how heavy this thing is as a full clutch assembly. 16 kilos. And that's when you realize you f***ed up. Basically, I got the scales wrong and it was in pounds. So 16 pounds makes 7.25 kilos. So roughly 1/3 of the weight that is shaved off thanks to the new clutch kit compared to the previous setup. So I'm really happy with that. And as I'm explaining here, it's true that the bearing in itself is not a rotational part, so there's no point really in measuring how heavy it is, but just for information purposes, it's 1 pound heavy. 16, no joke. the disc, as you can see, the rotor. This is the clutch disc, and this is the plate that will be pushing onto the disc in order to create the friction and adhesion between the transmission and the engine. And this is the flywheel. So if we look at the flywheel, including this part, we're roughly at 9 kilos. 9 kilos of the flywheel. Just to give it some perspective, if we compare it with the stock one, this is roughly 14 kilos. So 14 kilos the flywheel, and this one was roughly 9 kilos, okay? So we can see there's a huge difference here in terms of weight. Okay, so the flywheel is installed here. Now we're gonna torque wrench it. It's 49 Newton meters, and then there's 90 degrees tightening gonna be going on after that. So let's do this. Make sure also to do it in a star fashion, is always important. And I used a pry bar to block everything so it doesn't turn. So now 90 degrees, so a quarter of a turn. All the lines were up like this, and now they're 90 degrees on the side. Disc in with this part looking outwards. At this point, I'm reinstalling the cover, and I'm going to be centering the disc. So for the moment, I'm just tightening it by hand, so the disc can slightly move inside, as you see here. And once that is okay, then I will be putting a centering tool in the middle, and then I can tighten everything. Okay, now let's tighten everything. So there's a precise order. I'm gonna follow the OS-Giken manual, and all the bolts that I tightened, I will put a little white dot on it. Like that I know which ones are tight. And they ask really to go progressively, so that's what I did. I tightened them all by hand, and now we're gonna start tightening them to spec. So by the way, the torque setting is roughly 25 Newton meters. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so we have the release bearing here. I added some grease. This is the release fork, and I put grease and the spring as you see here. So first we're gonna assemble these two parts together, like this. Okay, so this is supposed to be like this. And then we add, so put grease in here, put grease here, make sure everything turns correctly. Then we're gonna go through here, like this, click it in, check if it works. Looking good. I'll just add some more grease here. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, everything seems to turn fine. Okay, we're good to go. Put the transmission on a jack stand so I can move it in, and next step is putting it back in its place. So let's put the car down and let's do this. Okay, so we did it. The gearbox is in. As you can see here, all good. All right, we're back in the office. This video is pretty long, but I hope you guys could learn quite a few things in it. I couldn't cut anything short because I feel almost all these details are really important. So anyway, I want to close this video by first and foremost thanking all of you for subscribing. I've received my first award from YouTube. No, it's my daughter who made that to congratulate me on my first 500 subscribers. Anyway, it's a humble start, but I want to thank you very much to all of you who've liked, subscribed, and hit the notification buttons in order to get my videos. You're more and more numerous to see my videos, so I'm really grateful for that. And I really hope that I can continue to make more and more videos and make them even more interesting so everybody can benefit from them. So anyway, I want to close this video. It's been a really long one, and I hope next week we'll be closing the whole clutch and transmission part so we can finally get into the dyno tuning of the car, and that I can actually take it for a little spin on the road in spite of the snow everywhere. So anyway, thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe and make sure to tune in next week for next week's video. Have a nice day and see you next week.